On holiday because of how white.
Yes, we are back. The Armory TV. Today's news. There's some links with Ismael Bennacer. So I've got two guests with me, and we're gonna go straight into it and talk about it. Yes, it's the Armory TV. We are back, and today I've seen some news doing the rounds on social media that are linking Arsenal for a move for Ismael Bennacer of AC Milan, formerly Gunner. Speaking of Gunner, my guest today, he needs no introduction, Mr. GunnerKing. How are you, sir? You're on mute, sir. You're on mute. You want to unmute yourself?
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, all good, man. Excited about the potential news. Bennacer is obviously a player that I admire, that was on our books. He's done very well at AC Milan and fits the mold of the midfielder I'm looking for. Someone that can play as a 6 in a 4-3-3 or an 8 in a 4-2-3-1. That is good in defensive actions, but can also break lines and is decent carrying the ball forward as well. So ticks those boxes in terms of like the profile of midfielder. Whether I don't know what's going to happen with a certain player's situation that I won't talk about, but whether he's cleared and he's backup or whether he's a replacement, I'm happy. Absolutely.
Excellent. We'll dive into it even further in a minute. Let's introduce James, though, who is he's not even in the country, and he's taken the time to join us. Where are you, James?
I'm in sunny Bulgaria, as we probably couldn't tell because I'm still as white as I was when I left the country. So I don't tan. But yeah, no, I'm in Bulgaria enjoying life. But yeah, that's good. Hope you guys are well.
Good. No, thanks for taking the time to join us. I'm sure this is something that interested you and you really wanted to talk about. So let's just get into it. So what we know about Ismael Bennacer is obviously he was at Arsenal back in 2015. We signed him from Arles Avignon, I think it was. Signed him for 215,000. He then went on loan to Tours for about 6 months, came back, couldn't really get into the side. We sold him to Empoli in 2017 for 873,000. And then he went on from Empoli to AC Milan in 2019 for a fee around 14.1 million. And since he's been there, he's been pretty decent, King.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been. Obviously, AC Milan won their first league title for 11 years last season. So yeah, I think Maldini really, you know what? I love this guy, man. Take a bow, man. He's come in and he has really sorted them out. And, he's brought Gazidis there as well. And, their revolution has really been quite that of a young one, like that is, integrating youth, that does have experience around with players like Ibrahimovic and Giroud. But, the likes of Bennacer and Pedro Leao, that is another guy who I've been watching. Oh, my God. Yeah, and AC Milan are my Italian team, by the way. So, so I was happy, with their league title win last season. And yeah, just in terms of like the midfield balance and what he brings to that, he brings that bite, that physicality. But as I said, like he does have those attributes that allow him to progress the ball with his carrying and his passing as well. So I see, with Gazidis there and the way that Maldini has brought in players and sort of the way that, the team is set up, that there's a lot of alignment in the way that AC Milan play and we play. So yeah, I think that would help him settle as well if this was to be a player that we pursued and brought in. And look, he came for our academy, so again, he's, familiar with the club, the culture. He's going to come in and feel like
there's an element as well, don't forget.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he's going to come in and feel like there's some unfinished business here on English shores. So I like this. It's a very, very, very positive. I would say I would take this guy over Tielemans at the moment. If you said to me we could only have one of the two, I would take him for all these reasons. I feel like our midfield needs this profile more, and all the other reasons that I've pointed out. I think align with me wanting this guy more. I think we'll go and get both. You know, I do still think we'll get two midfielders.
Yeah.
One of a deeper line playmaker or come box to box player, and one that can play as that six as a base
And he can
pivot
play
in
that
the
six because
4-3-3.
obviously his area of strengths are tackling, his
Yeah,
long range passing as well, and his close ball control as well. So I think
exactly.
for
Yeah,
a number six, that's something you want.
and he can also play as an 8 if we do revert to a 4-2-3-1, either in game in transition or as a starting formation against certain teams as well. So yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, this will be a great signing. This will be a great signing.
Yeah, yeah. And James, there's something I want to ask you because you kind of brought something up earlier in the in the group chat. Now we did a poll on the army, just a quick hour poll when we learned of the news, and you can see there it's kind of split. I mean, more saying no. Are people saying no because of the price? 40 million euros, what's that? 33 million pounds.
I feel like for £33 million, it's a very good price.
Absolutely
I'm not
bargain.
complaining about spending 33 million. I'd just be a bit annoyed. Again, it's probably not. It's not my money, right? So I shouldn't be annoyed. But it's just I feel like if we were going to get him, the time was to get him when we had a buyback clause for very cheap, very cheap. I think it was like 20 million. We had a buyback clause, so we could have done that. But at the end of the day, he's just gone on strides and strides from what you guys have seen and what I've heard about. I'm not going to sit here and say I've avidly watched him. I don't really watch Serie A football much, but I mean, good age, 33 million is similar price to Tielemans, and as Gunner said, dependent on the scenario or with what's going on with these certain allegations again that we shall not name. We may need two midfielders. So I feel like
Well, he gets injured anyway, Party. So it's the kind of player that we need, really.
Yeah,
yeah.
this is the thing. Yeah,
But it's one of those. I feel like it's smart business, and I feel like there is a market of midfielders here that we can pick up players that are slightly underrated or maybe not as valued within a specific league and bring them to the Prem and get a much more better value from them. And I believe he's one of them. It's interesting how many players we are currently linked with from the Serie A. There's quite a few. But, it's one of these things, as King said, it's like almost unfinished business. It's like when we had that, there was like a 3 or 4 year period where we had like 4 or 5 players that have just gone on to do good things. Bennacer, Marlin's now at Dortmund, Adelaide is playing in Liga, and Gnabry obviously at Bayern. So there was that crop, there was that call there that I don't think we got the best out of. So to have one of them come back, he knows the club, I think he'd slide in really well. He'd give us a different dynamic to what we currently have in midfield. So, I mean, I'm for it. I just feel like we need bodies, but we don't just need bodies that are just going to be there to sit in the squad. We need players that are going to elevate our team. And I feel like he's in a position to do that with the profile of player he is.
And yeah, and of course, Mikel Arteta would have known Bennacer as a player on the training field. So I think he knows what he can offer us as well. So I think that's another factor in if we do go in for him and he comes in, he already knows Arteta and Arteta already knows him, kind of, I guess, because there was a bit of an age gap. But he's still only 24 years of age. And look, Gumza asks a very good question here, which I want to go to. He says, Do you all? Basically, what he's trying to say, do you think it's going to drive down the price for Tielemans?
Partly.
Yeah.
So this is what I was saying on the Twitter space yesterday. Like Twitter and people having meltdowns. Oh, if he's our top target, why haven't we gone and got him? Why haven't we just given the money that Leicester want? I maintain, look, I work in I work in an industry where negotiation happens all the time. Your skill in negotiation often is indicative of your last deal and the nature of your last deal. Now, if you were held to ransom for terms that you're trying to negotiate in your last deal, then guess what? The next people that are trying to negotiate with you are going to try and hold you for ransom as well. And a lot of people ignore this bigger picture, but if they worked in my industry, they would know that's career suicide. You will never get the terms, that you are looking to get, which is the difference, between, this much and that much more. People turn around and say, it's not your money, so why do you complain about this? Listen, if the £5 or £10 million that you negotiate down here or there is done on the 4 or 5 deals that we've done, that's 40 million. That could be 25 to 30, 40 million. That's the price of a player, a half decent player in this day and age. That can be the difference between getting 6 players and 7. That can be the difference between having more to play with at the end of the window to push for more signings and not. So people need to open their eyes up to the bigger picture, right? If you're negotiating from a position where there is scarcity, then you will never be in a position of power. And if you are not in a position of power when you're negotiating in this market, in this day and age, you will get taken to the cleaners. Go ask Manchester United fans all about this, because every time they go for a player, look, they're going to pay the 50 million for Martinez now that Ajax wanted, right? Now, listen, I'm not saying he's a bad player. He looks like a top player. No, he could go on to be a top player. But what happens in their next deal? Exactly the same thing. Well, Ajax said that was the price, and United paid the price. So when we say this is the price, Man United are going to pay the price. And guess what? Just because it's Man United, just because it's Arsenal, just because it's Chelsea, Liverpool, all these big clubs in in England, that have more financial might than other clubs in the rest of the world, people are going to put a 10, 15, 20 million pound drink on it all the time. So absolutely, I agree with Gumsy. You go in for other targets, you show Leicester that you are willing to walk away from that deal. So if you go back to it, you are in a position of strength again. That is what a skilled negotiator would do.
Yeah. No, definitely. I completely agree with that point. Apparently, Mark O'Neill's saying that the Tielemans £30 million stage. I don't know if that's happening or if it's.
There was a report from what was his name, Marco Irwin from the Sun. I'm not a fan of that newspaper, but they have been relatively accurate, I think, on Arsenal news. And I think what King said, about the whole Tielemans thing is valid as well. I feel like from the rumors, especially me, maybe I was a bit premature of how excited I thought I was going to be about this window. I'm still very excited, but obviously when you hear the players we're linked with and the amount of money we're bidding, we're like, okay, look, we might have a £200 million window, right? But if we're being a bit more realistic and down to earth, we still haven't shipped out any of the players we're looking to do. And maybe it's a case of, look, we have a set portion of funds that we're looking to allocate, and we're going for 3 players, being Tielemans, Martinez, and Rafinha, and we can only go out and get 2 out of 3 at the moment. And our priority for that time was, look, Rafinha being number 1, go and get him. Martinez being the second, go and get him. And then Tielemans was obviously a priority for us, but in terms of what we wanted to get first, it was those 2. It's not looking good on both fronts.
We're sure in those areas, right?
Yeah. No, we did. I feel like it's just it's one of those that it's just not if, but when. And maybe I'm being naive, but I just feel like this is going to happen. He wants to move, and the price is too good, I feel like, to pass up on. So it's negotiating, as you said. If we're going to get Tielemans for what there was a report of, a lower £20 million bid, like £23 million bid plus add-ons, going up to about 30 million. That's a steal. And if we can get him for that, or we're not that far valuation from them, then fantastic. So it's just one of those, because at the end of the day, I don't see Tielemans signing a new contract. And if Leicester do what they have done, because they're a smart run club, if somebody isn't going to sign, they get them the value of what they believe from that player, and they're trying to recoup what they paid for him, which was, again, about 25, 26 million quid. So I just feel like that's going to be the story.
Can I just add to this? Can I just add to this comment quickly?
I left that for you, so go on, please.
Yeah. So look, I mean, if you want to buy a car, I always use the car analogy. Yeah. You don't just look at one car, do you? Like if you want to buy a house, you don't just look at one house, do you? You might look at the first house you look at and think, this is a nice house. Yeah. but it would have to be a very, very, very compelling house for you to not think, well, maybe I should look at a few others just to make sure that this one is the right one for me, right? So why is this guy talking about rumors? Yeah, like they're not rumors. Like we are actively trying to improve our midfield. So why would we limit ourselves to looking at one midfielder? So of course you were going to see rumors, and of course you were going to see links, and of course you were going to see activity from the club pertaining to more than one midfielder. Just a silly comment, really, respectfully. Very silly comment.
I think you're going to see a lot of things like that. It happens every transfer window. Look, we're going to be linked with players. We're going to be players that we're going to miss out on, seemingly. Is there any truth behind it? We don't know yet. But what I'm like seeing at the moment.
Well,
Sorry.
Oh no, sorry, I'm lagging. Sorry, Tony, you go.
No, all I'm saying is that I like what we're doing in the market right now. What we're seemingly doing is we're looking at all these different kind of players that would probably fit our system as well. And it's like what you said and Gums has said in the comment earlier. Maybe this is a way to get prices put down for the other players that we are actually wanting to get. So I'm completely with you on that one. So on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say that we do go out and we do get Bennacer. How happy would you be out of 10? Go on. I'll go James first because I think we already know what your answer is, King.
I'd probably say 7.5 as of right now, because it's not someone I've done enough research into, and B, it's not someone, I don't know, maybe it's as a fan you hear a link and you hear it for a substantial amount of time, and then you have your head set on one particular player, and then anyone else you're like, nah, I don't want him, I only want this one player. And it's a bad mindset to have, but just, like, for me that's been Tielemans. Like, I've been really excited to get Tielemans, but at the end of the day I'm pretty sure it'd be a similar effect if we got Bennacer. So I'd say a 7 now, but probably when he's wearing the shirt and taking the photo, I'd be like, oh my God, this is the best signing of the summer. Like as we always do. So yeah, I'll say a 7 for right now.
I'd say an 8. Yeah, I'd say an 8. 8. Yeah, 7.5 to an 8, I would say. Yeah, because as I said, yeah, like I think since Arteta's reign, I've really been sold on profile matching. And seeing, sort of what profiles he's trying to put together to make a successful team. And I think, I can see that he really likes, if he is playing with a 3, for his base pivot to have the capability to break the lines from deep as well, to be able to be expansive in passing the ball forward, as well as being solid in the tackle, good in defensive actions, good defensive acumen, and a high degree of physicality, but also that can drive with the ball. That can, I think I'm describing Thomas Partey here. I'm describing people like Rodri, people like Fabinho, that have these capabilities, specifically. And yeah, he fits that bill really. And I've said I remain concerned that Partey seems incapable of staying fit for 38 games a season. And I think that I don't want to go into next season with that being a potential pitfall that makes our season unravel for a second season in a row. And players like Kieran Tierney, I feel the same about. I want them to stay. I absolutely want them to stay. But yeah, we just have to be realistic about what we can expect from them. So for that reason, I'm giving this a 7.5 and an 8.
Yeah, and I was going to echo what you're going to say there. I would hover around the 7, 8, because he's the kind of profile player that we do need. As you touched on how Partey's, you can't rely on him for a whole season. And Bennacer, obviously, he knows the club and he knows what it means to play for the club. So I would probably give it a little bit higher, maybe an 8.5. But I would be very happy. I wouldn't say I'd be excited or like I probably would be buzzing a little bit. But I'd be very, very happy. And I would say it's a logical signing if we did go ahead and get him. Now, we've got some breaking news that's broken by James in the private chat and Gaz Bowman in the chat. Jack Wilshere has officially retired from football at the age of 30. Any thoughts on that one, James?
Yeah, it's gutted, to be honest, because I don't know. As like growing up, you probably had your own individual academy players that came through the team when you were a kid that you idolized and you watched, for me, it was Jack Wilshere. At the time, I was 10, 11, 12 when he first broke onto the scene. He's the first Arsenal kit I ever had. It was Wilshere that I had on the back of my shirt. So it's just gutting, man. Like I'm proud of what he has done for the game, what he means to us as fans, what he means to Arsenal and the academy. It's just a shame of how it panned out, because boy was he talented, unbelievable player. There's rumors of him potentially getting a coaching job within the Arsenal setup, and I would love nothing else to have him back within the club, because if you're talking about players that embody what it means to be Arsenal, for you guys, Tony Adams, Martin Keown, those kind of players, but for me, he just symbolizes the best of the club. So I wish him well on his retirement. And yeah, one hell of a player during his day.
Yeah, he was that player that I think all Arsenal fans, no matter how old you were, just loved. He just bled Arsenal. You know, we saw him at the Cup parade. You know, what do you think of Tottenham and all that? It really rattled them. It was brilliant. And his potential was massive, but it's just the injuries, Chris, wasn't it? It just hampered his career.
Yeah, I mean, look, injuries marred him. And look, I always say this, you know, like, Wilshere should be a cautionary tale to Arsenal. Point blank, period. When everyone was saying last season Arteta doesn't fancy Martinelli, he's got a Martinelli agenda. We had nothing. No, not last season. The season before last, when we finished 8th, had nothing to play for a large portion of that season. Martinelli had broken down twice from injury, so it was like, I'm not playing him. And Arteta played with Wilshere. He trained with him. He saw how good he was. He saw how prodigal he was. You know, so he protected him. You know, if we keep thrashing Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Odegaard in the same way, we'll have another cautionary tale on our hands. So I love Jack Wilshere. I love watching him play. He was Mr. Arsenal. You know, like he had that he had that autonomy and ownership of the club, of someone that grew up supporting it, you know, on the terraces, someone that grew up watching Tony Adams, someone that grew up watching Vieira and Henry and all these, man. So I'll always love Wilshere, and I totally agree with James. We should bring him into the coaching setup. We should have him working with our younger academy players, you know, and kind of not only working with them on a coaching and technical level, but he did also have a period where he was, you know, kind of getting caught by the bright lights and stuff. So someone that can like mentor and keep our youngsters on the right path, you know, in terms of like their discipline on and off the pitch as well.
And their conditioning,
yeah, I think that would be great, you know, just to have, you know, in and around, you know, sort of the first team, and the younger academy teams as well.
Yeah, and it's a shame, but look, he'll always go down in our memories as one of the favourites. Just quickly before we do move on, give us your one favourite Jack Wilshere moment each. So James, you go first.
I think it was after the FA Cup win on the tour bus. I don't know if the King is going to say the same, but he shouted the classic phrase, "What do you think of Tottenham?" And then the whole crowd just went nuts. It was one of those where it's just, I think that chant was relatively new at the time as well, to see like a focal figure singing that, especially because probably he's not meant to, but it's just, yeah, for me.
No, it's always been around, but it's the fact that, yeah, he I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it was that. And well, obviously you have the goal he scored, probably our best ever team goal, I reckon, against Norwich.
Oh, yeah.
That, and then his display against Barca. I love the guy. There's too many favorite moments, I think.
I do think, James, you just answered all the top 3 answers there. I think it's just we're going to say one of those. I was going to mention the Barcelona game or that goal against Norwich. King?
Whoops, my bad.
Your favourite Wilshere moment?
For me, it was obviously, that moment. You know, with Tottenham after we won the FA Cup, will always live with me. But for me, it was when he played against Barcelona, and he absolutely pocketed a prime Xavi and Iniesta. He had these two men, like both of them were fighting for his shirt at the end of the game. It was hilarious. And they came out and they were like, this guy is going to be the usurper to our thrones. He at that time, he was what 17? Yeah. He literally just controlled their whole midfield. And he played them at their own game. That's the thing. He had a very continental style, you know, like that's what I love about Wilshere. He's like Jack the Lad, but when he was on the football pitch, he played, you know, he had that European continental style, you know, of passing and moving, you know, like intricate passing and doing things really simply and then just moving into space again, you know. So it was that performance for me because that was really when he was at the peak of his powers, you know, like, and we all know that injuries obviously, you know, made things go downhill from there. But yeah, those were the two times.
And I'm also going to mention his performances. There was a string of England games where he went 4 or 5 man in the matches or something like that. And he, you know, did not only announce himself to the Arsenal fans, but he announced himself to the England fans. And, you know, it's just a shame. But listen, we all here wish him all the best for the future. Hopefully he sticks around in the club because we absolutely love him. And I'm sure the King, the role that you've suggested there should be ideal for him. And hopefully we'll see him there. We'll see him there. But we'll wish Jack Wilshere all the best. That's for sure. Just finally, Martinez, the race for Martinez. Do we look out of it, James?
I don't know if we're out of it, but it's looking increasingly like a hill we're struggling to climb. It was always going to be the case.
Yeah.
Especially when Ajax have said that Jurrien Timber isn't for sale. So they were going to move for someone within that Ajax defense, United. And people underestimate. I saw King on Twitter, and he was doing a space last night, which was really good. By the way, big up Miguel for doing the space. It was really good. Talking about the pull of Martinez and what affects it, and when you have like a coach that has been so influential for Martinez's career, he's still young. He's 24, I think. So, like, I mean, he's been working for Ten Hag for what, 5 years, however long, right? So giving him the opportunity to actually establish himself as King said, a football player within the Dutch league and an international with Argentina, like, you're going to have some sympathy there. And especially when you
Argentina as well during that time. For someone that young, centre back.
It's massive, especially for South. You know how passionate South Americans are playing for their national team. They go crazy for it. But yeah, it's one of those, especially now that he's moved to the destination where he wants to be in. He's actively said he wants to go to the Prem. He didn't specify a team, but he says he wants to take the opportunity to play in the Prem. And we both know the two suitors are us or United. And now that Ten Hag has moved to, even though we banter them, in my opinion, probably the biggest club in England, they have a giant pull. Let's be real. So it's going to be difficult. I'm not saying it's over until it's over, but we might have to start looking for alternatives. And I feel like Man United maybe need him more than we do. And I'm not trying to be like, we're losing out, so they need him more than we do. But I feel like in terms of priority, I feel like our defense isn't as high up as a position as we need compared to like attack or midfield. So if we are going to divert those funds, then I'm not going to be complaining because I feel like we can get an alternative for cheaper than 40+ million quid. So
yeah, I mean, look, I hear a lot of people saying, why didn't Arsenal just give them the money they want as well? It was a lot of money for someone that's not proven in the Premier League. Great player. I'm not going to sit here and be salty. I never did that with Rafinha. It's not my style, man. Like, I would have loved for him. I would love for him to come to Arsenal. But the reality is this. We've got Saliba. We've got Ben White. We've got Gabriel. Gabriel and Ben White established himself in this league last season. Saliba established himself in the French national team and in France, where he won Young Player of the Year. So, realistically, are we in the same desperate situation to improve our defence as United are? Absolutely not. They ended on a goal difference of 0 last season, conceded way more than us. With a world-class defender, I'm supposed to believe, in Varane. He obviously was world-class at the time. I firmly believe he's not anymore. I will say that with chest. Like, for me, world-class is the top 3 in your position. And I can definitely name 3 centre-backs on this planet right now that are better than him. So They bought him to fix a problem that became more of a problem because of his availability. And sometimes availability is the best attribute. Maguire's been woeful, absolutely woeful last season. And Lindelof, I've never thought he's Manchester United quality anyway. So you contrast those two defences and you tell me that we need a defender more than United. So we're not going to go to the lengths that United are to improve in that area. In terms of the pull of Ten Hag, he's given him his first opportunity in professional football, his first ever opportunity, you know, and that's a massive thing for a centre back, especially who peak. You know, they peak at much later years. It's a massive, massive, massive thing, you know. And as I said, he's established himself in Ajax's team, established himself in Argentina's team, captained Argentina, worked with Ten Hag at a critical stage in his career where you know, when you were young and trying to establish yourself as a centre-back. For me, centre-backs and goalkeepers, they've got the hardest job of trying to establish themselves when they're young players. They have to be standout. You know, like Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi weren't polished when they were put into Man United and Barcelona respectively, but people are more willing to take a punt on attacking players when they're young because they got other players behind them. So when they do make a mistake, it's less mission critical. You understand? You know, so for me, I think it's a good move for Man United. You know, are they overpaying slightly? But look, everyone's overpaying in this market, especially if you're an English club. Congratulations to them if they do win the race. We move on. Like, this is the thing. Like, a lot of our fan bases in that space that James was with me in with me last night, like losing our shit over like losing targets. And someone asked the question earlier in the comment thread that I wanted to put up. I think it was that Games Bubs guy saying Arsenal lost out on Martinez and Rafinha. Are we still a big club and do we still have attraction? Imagine I turned around to a Real Madrid fan and said, you lost out on Mbappe. Are you still an attractive club that people want to come to? Are you still a big club? Because PSG are far smaller than Real Madrid. It's not even close. It's not even close. I can't even believe I was in a space the other day and someone tried to say it was the other way around. I literally had to just slap mute. Yeah, PSG are miles smaller than Real Madrid. And they managed to retain Mbappe at the expense of him going to the biggest club in the world. So what, are they no longer attractive? No. That's just, in that circumstance, again, there's mitigation. Mbappe wants to stay and help PSG win a Champions League to establish further his legacy as a French player, as a French great, as someone, yeah, who is Parisian by birth, yeah, and by definition. So these things can happen in individual cases. Does it mean PSG are now bigger than Real Madrid? No. Does it mean they've got more pull than Real Madrid? No. Obviously, United are bigger than us. And obviously, Ten Hag, to a player that plays for Ajax, that he's managed in the last 3 years, is going to have more pull than us. But again, if Man United had gone in for Jesus, we probably would have won on the manager pool card. And the Man United fan pointed this out to me on that Twitter thread that I put out this morning. A Man United fan said the same thing. If Man United had come in for Jesus, we would have won that race because he's worked with Arteta previously. So we just got to just relax a little. Yeah, you can see that we're lining up other targets. Yeah, you can see that we are working in the market to strengthen our defense. Grimaldo we're looking at now, cover at left back, because we wanted him to cover left back and a centre back position. And I believe that we will probably bring in another left-footed and left-sided centre back. We move.
I mean, look. Yeah, I mean, look, the comments going wild. Look, we can go back and forth with these comments for a very long time. I know we can. But listen, at the end of the day, we are still the early part of July. We've still got a whole month until the season starts. There's so much that can happen. There's so much twists and turns that can happen. We could still end up getting Martinez. You never know. You don't know. Who actually knows? But I do agree with you two. I think Man United for him is probably a safer option. He knows what he's going to get with Ten Hag. He knows he's going to get more game time. But who knows? Our project, it might be sold better to him. Who knows? You don't know. So look, I'm happy. I'm sitting at the moment where we are at the moment. I'm happy with what I'm seeing. We're seemingly active. We are linked to many, many players. not bad players by all means as well. So no, I'm just going to ride this, right? And once it gets to like the third week of July, end of the third week of July, and we haven't done anything else, I will be concerned then. But
That's not gonna happen.
right now,
That's not gonna happen.
calm. I'm happy. I'm sure of what I'm seeing. Would you not agree with that?
Absolutely.
And I think on that, there's been so many of you who've tuned in today, and we absolutely appreciate it. Please do smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. And also, if you have any opinions, put them in the comments after this stream, and we'll get back to you. I'm sure King will, James will, even the guys are not here, Canner's Gums, we'll get back to you. But listen, guys, it's been great. We went longer than we hoped for, but again, it's the Arsenal. It's what we do. But yeah, it's been a great conversation. We're happy with the links. Whether they get through or come through or not is obviously another thing. But in the meantime, we've been Yamu TV. I've been Mr. Silver Fox. He's been GunnerKing. He's been James in Bulgaria. And we'll catch you very, very soon. All the best.